Good evening. Thank you very much for joining us for another exciting edition of The Verdict. My name is Marco Kwakozi. I'm standing in for Patrick Soko, and thank you very much for choosing channel 274 on DSTV, channel 25 on GoTV, and channel 106 on Top Star. This is Camnet TV, and this program comes to you every Tuesdays at exactly 17 hours. Today, we are privileged and excited to host the Namwala Member of Parliament, and this is Mr. Mono Mapani, just to help us discuss issues surrounding his constituency. And of course, we are going to be talking about issues to do with the governance of this country. Mr. Mapani, would like to thank you very much for making an appearance on this program. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening to you, thank you. Good evening, viewers, too.
First things first, let's start by talking about Namwala itself. What constitutes, what makes Namwala? What's the mainstay? What do people do in Namwala constituency?
Thank you so very much. Namwala constituency is one of the constituencies in this republic. Mm-hmm. We are a constituency in the southern pole of Zambia. Namwala constituency has 4 chiefdoms. We have Senior Chief Mungaira of the Ila people, Senior Chief Nalubamba of the Londo people. We have Chief Mujila of the Tonga people, and we have Chief Mugobela of the Ila people. So there are 4 chiefs in the Namwala constituency. Mm-hmm. Now you asked, what do the people of Namwala do? The people of Namwala depend on agriculture, meaning their livelihood depends on agriculture. Mm-hmm. We have 2 types of agriculture in Namwala constituency. There's what we call crop agriculture and livestock agriculture. Mm-hmm. When we talk of livestock agriculture, these are the people who keep animal, and that's the source of their livelihood. Mm-hmm. They only get money from the animals they keep. Whilst the other sector or the other part of the chiefdom, they depend on crop agriculture. Now, when you look at the chiefdoms that depend on livestock, the Chief Mugobela, so Senior Chief Mugobela, Chief Mugobela and Senior Chief Mungaila, they only grow few crops just for family consumption. And their major source of income is through the livelihood, mm-hmm. livestock mm-hmm. keeping. Whilst the Senior Chief Nalubamba, they keep animals and they grow a bit of some maize, which they can actually sell. But you cannot compare to what happens in Chief Mujila. Mm-hmm. Chief Mujila, they keep not enough animals, enough just to use them for plowing and just for milking, not per se to depend on them for their livelihood. Whilst they grow a lot of maize, a lot of soybeans, for them actually on commercial basis for their income earning. Mm-hmm. So Namwala is divided into crop and animal farming. Mm-hmm. It's only now that people now are saying, they're saying that there's a ministry of livestock. Mm-hmm. Before it was just ministry of agriculture. Of course, then there would be vet and another sector that was manning the crop. So basically, this is how the people of Namwala actually survive for in their living. Mm-hmm. It's through crop and animal agriculture. Mm-hmm. We don't have factories, unfortunately, in our constituency. Mm-hmm. We purely depend on agriculture.
Having said that, what are the major challenges that the people of Namwala are faced with?
Couple of challenges. Namwala was a forgotten constituency. Mm-hmm. I would take it either maybe because people perceived it to be the opposition, the main opposition constituency, or that's maybe because people who were in government never respected the agriculture and livestock farming. Mm-hmm. Now, during the First Republic, that is during the UNIP era, farmers were helped to look after the animals by government. What I mean is, we had a lot of deep tanks, dams, which actually made it easy for the people in Namwala to look after the animals. As we are talking today, Namala is a #1 beef producing constituency in this country. These are just bare facts. But to maintain this position up to now, it wasn't easy. Because immediately when UNIP was voted out, it became very difficult for the people of Namala to maintain the numbers. There was a disease, of course, not only foot mouth. There was actually a disease which we used to call denkete. It wiped a lot of animals. Farmers on their own, it was very difficult to control that disease. And there was little that was given to the people who kept animals. Not all the people of Namala, of course, other people from other constituencies who actually faced almost a similar position, that government had nothing to do with the animals. And that alone made it very difficult for our people to improve their lives, because the only source of income was affected. Because the issue of deep tanks was not there. Dams were not there. Even fighting the diseases, government was not there. Now, people's resources were limited. That alone meant that it became very difficult for anyone who depended on this livestock to actually earn a living in a proper manner. Similarly, when UNIP went or was voted out, even the crop agriculture became very difficult. Very difficult in the sense that people would grow maize, but they had nowhere to sell. People would grow a lot of sunflower. Government was not coming in to buy from them. Now the people, uneducated as we were, found it very difficult to source for anyone who would buy the outputs at a reasonable fee. It meant now the briefcase farmers had an opportunity, had their Christmas, to go and get the maize at the fee that they will actually determine themselves, not by government. Now, these some people had children who needed to be taken to school at a fee. It became very difficult. And agriculture, instead of becoming a profit-making venture, it was zero. Because people could not manage to take their children to school, because government never played a law to ensure that it protected its farmers. So that was some of the challenges. Those are some of the challenges our people faced. And those challenges led our people to poverty. And like what is happening now, we are very happy. However, let me quickly as well, because this is a platform that people would want to know exactly what constitutes Namala in terms of political wards, or the wards that constitute Namala. We have 16 wards. Namala is not a small constituency. It's quite a vast constituency with 5,687.4 area land, which can be termed into square kilometers. It's quite a vast constituency. But we have no road networks. This is when we are trying now to ensure that we open up this constituency. There was only one road network, which was running from Choma into Namala. The rest, there was nothing. So people found it very difficult to collect the inputs from the central business, similarly the outputs from their farms to the marketplaces. It was not easy. And this is a thing that is making us not sleepy, because we have to ensure that we do the correct thing for the people of Namala in the 16 wards. Chief Mujila alone has got 5 wards, and these are no small wards. There are some constituencies that actually are a size of my ward, both in size and the population. But all these people are looking up to government to ensure that things that they've always longed to have are delivered to them or near to them, so that as well they can start living the way other people are living within this country. Remember, I said, it was a forgotten constituencies. In terms of education sector, there were very few schools. No clinics that would actually admit a woman. They were not there. We only depended on the Namala District Hospital. Now, there are people who are in Chief Mujira. For them to move up to Namala District Hospital, it's 138 kilometers, and there was no hospital anywhere near. So the only alternative was to get into Choma District through Mbabala constituency to Macha Hospital. That's where we used to get our medical services, which was not okay. First of all, as a constituency or as a district, we needed to get some of these facilities closer to the people, which was not there. And we lost a lot of lives at times, those ones which we cannot say it's God's wish, because people died because they had no facilities that would have helped them to be where they are. These are some of the challenges that actually have engulfed our constituents. Like I said, we are working around the clock to ensure that the money that we have been given, we open up, we construct schools. I want to believe as we proceed in our interviews, we will be able to actually indicate what we have done so far from the CDF that is actually in the hands of every constituency. I thank you.
Which is what we are coming to now,
right.
The issue of the CDF. Tell me what the expectations of the people of Namwada districts are as regards a CDF.
Thank you so very much. When we came into power in 2021, the UPND New Dawn government gave each constituency then the amount for CDF, which was 1.6 million, which the PF government was giving the constituencies. But it's very important to be open. When I say to be open, to indicate facts as they are. It's not every constituency that received 1.6 million per year. This is very important. During the Patriotic Front time, the 1.6 million, like I said, was not given yearly and was not given to every constituencies. There are some of the MPs who actually lost their positions, particularly those from the opposition then, because the CDF money which they banked on to do the project was not given to them. So in November, October, when we came into power, that money was given to us. Now, like I said, I outlined few challenges that my constituents was faced with. The issue of education. The 1.6, we didn't know that the New Dawn government was going to increase the CDF to 25.7 million. We didn't know. So we made sure when the money was given to us, we sat with the community. We agreed what is it that we want done in our constituencies. The education sector was number one. Pupils in my constituencies were walking 10, 15 kilometers to access grade 1 services. And you can imagine, at the age of 6, who can walk 15 kilometers? The answer is not. That's why we found that in my constituency, the levels of illiteracy are quite high. People are not educated. It's not deliberately, because schools were not there. At 6 years, to be subjected to a distance of 15 kilometers, it was not obtaining. Now you'd find people start grade 1 at the age of 10 because they want to walk. And very few to do that. Now, by the time somebody is grade 5, is 15 years. And there were those children around the same, who lived around the same schools. They would go to school at 7 or 6 years. Meaning now, somebody who's 16 years, doing grade 4, he'll feel shy to sit in the same class with a child who is 9 years. Now, the only alternative to them at that time was to stop school. That was a problem. Meaning we are bringing up a community that was not educated. That was a danger. So we constructed, with the help of the community, 5 schools which were 1 by 2. And this is the information that we always want reporters to verify whether indeed what is being said is correct. This will avoid us politicians from telling lies. And this is what should be. Those who don't want to tell the truth, they have to be challenged. Now, we constructed a school in a place called Chitumbi in Mala, 1 by 2, using the same 1.6 million, because we wanted to cut the distances. We did the Chitumbi Primary School 1 by 2. We went to Santi. Chitumbi children were walking 8 kilometers there. Then Santi to Namsonde, we did 1 by 2. Children were walking 8 kilometers. Then there is Kehi, which we did. Pupils or children were walking 10 kilometers. We did 1 by 2. Then we went to Wizu. People used to get their educational children from Vanamomba, which was 6 kilometers the nearest. Then we went to Chief Mojila, St. Margaret's, where we did a 1 by 2. Pupils were doing 8 kilometers. Now, this is the first 1.6 that were given. Like I said, with the help of the community, they would mold pan bricks, bake them, and then they would do the thing. And they would do the construction themselves because of their monies, which were not enough. As if that was not enough, we worked on a road from Nico to Makaba. People or children used to go to Makaba to get the grade 1 services. But unfortunately, there was no road. It's 8 kilometers. It used to take them almost 3 hours to walk there because there was no road. So what we did using the ZNS, the builders, the still from the 1.6 million, we were able to do that 8 kilometer stretch. Now, if you were to go there driving, a place of 8 kilometers, which to take us an hour with a vehicle, now I would take about 5 to 9 minutes. And we worked on that stretch. Then in Chief Mujira, there's a place called Siamtik, where once it starts raining, it was impossible for anyone to cross. So we did a small bridge. Currently, they're still using it. But of course, there's an alternative now, because ZNC is doing the road under the 25.7, which we explain once given an opportunity as we proceed. So basically, the 1.8 million, that's how we utilize it. Now, in December, November, October, the budget was brought to Parliament, where we were now given the 25.7 million by the non-joint government. To us now is at a rare, because now we are seeing things that they could not bring to us direct. Things which people were thinking for us before, now we have to think for ourselves. Because we have now what we call ward development committees. And those ward development committees are in every ward, per ward. And then within the wards, there's what we call zones. These are people now, according to the polling stations, who will sit and decide what they want done in their ward. Together, they will put what they want from that ward, take it straight to the Constituent Development Committee, which I think it's in public domain, how this thing is run. Now, what is it that we have done on that money that was given to us? We are prouder than before. Because now, as the people of Namala, people of everyone in this, of every constituency in this country, have to sit now and decide what is it that we want done in our constituencies. Now, I'll run through quickly some of the things that we have done. Because this money is not given to us at once. No. What it is, we are receiving these monies quarterly. The first quarter of the money that we were given, we set aside a 2.7 million to do a 20-kilometer stretch of road from our border, from Mayobo, which is the border between Choma and Mbabala constituency, so Namala and Mbabala constituents, to Chief Mujila's palace. That money was given to us last year in January. But unfortunately, we could not do this road because we didn't have our own equipment. The council that we actually inherited, there was nothing, completely nothing, no grader, no nothing, not even a shovel. You will laugh sometimes the way these councils were run. So there was nothing. So for us to have this road done, we had to look for the contractors, who were the ZNS. And when they did all their calculuses, the costing came to 2.7 million. So we paid last year, but we were not the only constituents that needed their services. So as I'm talking to you now, they just started doing that road some 2 weeks, a week plus days. I'm just from the constituency. So that road actually it has reached an advanced stage. But the money was paid to us last year in the first quarter. So we did that school and we made about 380 desks from that same money. And then for the clubs, youths and women, we had to put aside 486,000 kwacha for our clubs. That was the money we received in the first quarter. The second quarter, what we did was we are constructing a school at Kapiri in Itapa 1x2. There was no school there since ever that place was established. Meaning therefore that children will either go to school at a distance of 10 or they would stay home. And the dangers of not having an educated community, we all know. It's actually ill. Then we are constructing, which we completed, actually we're waiting to commission it, OPD at Nkomba, which is in Mobola Ward. We are done painting everywhere, just waiting to go and commission it. So that one we're done. Then there's one school which now they are roofing a 1x2 in Chibule, which is in Demo Ward. They are roofing as we're talking now. Then there's a solar water propelled system and waterborne toilets at Kantengwa, which is in Senior Chief Mungaira's chiefdom. These are some of the projects, together with another ablution block with solar propelled water system. I commissioned this last 2 weeks. This is at Namsonde. Then we have made about 840 desks, which we already delivered from the second quarter. And then the women's clubs, we have given out 485,000 kwacha. This is the monies that we got in the second quarter. The third quarter, we have done the mechanized ball system, the solar propelled one at Mala. If somebody went to Mala High School now, where they used to pull from using those traditional wells at a school. Now if you went to Mala, teachers now are drinking water from the taps. We're done and everything is working. This is in the third quarter. Then we are constructing, actually we are roofing a school at Nakamboma, which is 1x2. There wasn't enough space for our children there. So we're putting 1x2, we are roofing. Then at Tunga is a place in Chief Mogobera, where pupils had no school. That's just the truth. They had no school. They used to go to Namwala Central on a Sunday and get back on Friday to meet their parents. And that was a trend for years. But we are saying, no, sometimes we need to bring our children ourselves. Why giving them to other people? But because they had no choice. For the children to go to school, they had to go and camp or squat with their relatives. After Friday, they get back. We have actually constructed a 1x2. We are painting as I'm talking to you now. This is a school that is supposed to be opened as children open schools in the next 2 weeks. Tunga. Then Chinyam is about 9 kilometers into Namala town. Those ones, they were walking every morning. Still gets back to what I said earlier. Few would do that. And there was only one primary school called Shabongwe, which was built by one chief. Not by government, by a chief. Meaning we lived in Namala as forgotten people, because government could not construct a primary school. That primary school that the people of Namala survived on was built by the chief, then handed over to government. Now what we are doing to decongest that, we have put a primary school at Chinyem. So meaning now, pupils from around that area will not walk in the morning the 9 kilometers I talked about, because they have their primary school up to grade 4. By the time it will be 4 years, we'll be able to do a 1x3. 1x3 means now that school will go up to grade 7. And now that will help the people in the township, or the school in the township, the only school which is Shabongwe, to be decongested. And then now people, even teachers, will be able to deliver the services as per dictates of the Education Act. Apart from that, we are building a one house for the teacher at Shimonyombe. That one we done. We are done. Then the women clubs, we gave them 485,000 kwacha. The fourth quarter, that's CDF for 2022, remember. The fourth quarter, we gave women and youths 480,000. We are constructing an OPD, a clinic at Najumba, which is in Chief Nalubamba. This money came early this year or late last year, so we are only able to do what we are doing now because of when it came. So we are building a clinic at Nachumba, which is in Senior Chief Nalubamba. We are constructing a laboratory, computer lab, at Mandondo Primary School. And the last one, we are constructing an OPD again in Kabulamwanda Ward at Mahum. Basically, this is how we utilize the money that government gave us. People sat in the wards, deliberated, agreed on what they wanted done, and pushed them to CDF. Then those are the people who do costings, of which I'm happy that as the area member of parliament, I'm privileged to be a member of this committee, which sits to actually scrutinize what the people from the wards have submitted. And then, of course, matching it with the monies that we have. The key is every ward wants to have at least an activity or a project that is running. This is what we are doing.
You sound to be working, to be biased to the education sector, building schools in almost every ward. That is interesting. But are you matching this effort of desks, because the president said he doesn't want to see any pupils sitting on the floor by December this year?
Right. When we were given this CDF, there is free education that has been introduced across the country. Meaning now, the people of Namala who were unable to get to school because of the costs are in school now. Meaning we don't have enough classrooms. And there were no schools, actually, to be honest. There were no schools. The question is the issue of desks. The first thing that we did was we did 380 desks. Apart from the 380 desks, we did another 880 desks. Apart from the 800 and the 380, right now we are doing almost a 2,000 because according to the education, the DIPS, this is District Education Board, they requested us to give them 3,900 desks. Now, going by the numbers that have been given and what we have produced so far, I know that they have extended it to next year, 2024. But with us, the target was December this year. And the numbers, according to what we received from DEPS and what we have done, will still meet the 3,900 this year. This year. Because as we didn't know that there was an extension, that there would be an extension. We really worked towards ensuring that the desks are actually made and supplied to schools. And we still stand despite this extension, we have said we had already budgeted. We need to meet them. If there will be extras next year, will just be add-ups. But our target is this year, according to the first circular and the directive that we were given. We have to ensure that we have desks, which we have already started supplying 380, 980, and then 980, when you add, we're only with about 2,000. Actually, 1,400, 1,600 somewhere there. And this is what we're doing now. So that according to the numbers that were given by the DEPS, we are able to meet them by December. Of course, people say, no, there's this relief. We had already budgeted. And we need to do the work. And that will give us room to say if there's still some few schools, as we continue building, constructing schools, then we'll be able only now to center or concentrate on those schools that we are actually constructing now, to give them desks. That means we'll continue working on these desks, but of course, at a reasonable pace, in that as we complete constructing a school now, we'll be able to supply desks only to that school, because by then, we would have already supplied these old schools the numbers that we were given by DEPS.
You did indicate earlier that Namwala, the main activity there is agriculture. What are some of the projects that you're doing in the agriculture sector? I know that we need to move away from CDF, but still, agriculture sector, what are you doing?
That's a very interesting question. When we talk of crop agriculture, we are now talking to the ministry, first of all, to ensure that the collections of fertilizer should not only be done from the central business because of the distance. Our request is that they should open more depots within the constituents so that people can easily have access. Remember I said that Namala was a closed constituent, that the road network is actually minus. It's not even there. It's now that we are sitting to think about doing it by ensuring that the CDF that we have been given this year, for capital projects, we are only buying the earth-moving equipment. That now will ensure that we open up Namala to the rest of, to all parts of Namala. People are able to connect from whatever angle because of the road network. But to do that, we needed money. And this is the money that we're talking about, ensuring that we buy the earth-moving equipment. The road network will be done. But before that, because people should not only wait, what is it that we are doing with the Ministry of Agriculture? We have requested them to bring inputs from the central business, which is like 160-something kilometers, to bring them to almost to the entrance, like in Chitongo, Niko, where people from Chief Mujira can just have maybe a 20-30 kilometers to access them. If that is done, that is a plus for us. Apart from that, we need more separate depots. We were lucky actually this season when we complained about that, the minister was able to respond within reasonable space, that people create more food reserve agents should create more centers where people they would easily go and sell the outputs. And this was done. Now we hope that even when it comes to inputs, delivery, they will still listen to what the cries of the people. About the livestock services, the issues of dams, which we are actually constructing. Yesterday, I had a meeting with the permanent secretary in charge of technicals. Technical, that's what they call them. We discussed a lot of issues. One among the issues are deep tanks and the dams. We lack that. We have World Vision. World Vision, actually, they're giving us a dam now, which is almost 6 million, worth 6 million kwacha. And that dam, they have actually reached a secondary part, meaning they're about to complete it. We lack that World Vision came to our aid. Why do we need dams there? When we have enough dams, it means now our animals will live longer on the highland. Because as it is now, once the rain season is over, we have to take our animals to the plain. There are kilometers to the plain. It will mean now milking for sale will not be there because there won't be water. And to be distant is to be far from the plains to where these activities can be conducted. But with a lot of dams constructed, it will mean now animals will be on the highland for a long period. Some animals at some point will not even take them to the plain because there will be water. And because there will be water, farmers will continue milking. And they'll be able to sell in their coins to improve their standards. And not only that, we need deep tanks and sprayers. That will help us to fight the diseases. It's not all farmers who can manage to construct deep tanks. It's quite costly. So we have requested the government to come to our aid. And we're still waiting to hear the response from the Permanent Secretary of Livestock, because we made that request. And our job is to push. Because if we're going to use the CDF, yes, it's important, but we won't be able to get anywhere because of the cost to have just one. Like I said, not all farmers, but people who are able, those who have been and who are prominent, they're able to sink their own, but the rest are not. So to ensure that the disease is actually fought, we need government to come on board so that we are able to dip our animals within the recommended period. And our another request is so that the government should think of maybe constructing a college, a school, an institution that will deal with agricultural areas, agriculture sectors, because it's a constituency that, like I said, which is #1 beef producing, and we're producing a lot of milk. So we need to train our people within, so that actually we improve their understanding on how they can actually improve or increase their numbers. Because these days we should know that there are a lot of challenges globally, and people need knowledge. And to do that, you need to be in class. And to be in class is not everyone who managed to get to Mazabuka, to Zia, or another college. We need actually the same institution in our constituents, so that our farmers can easily access and have knowledge. And that alone will bring a plus to our animals. Basically, this is what is happening, and this is what we are requesting government to do for our people.
Let's move on. The UPND has now been in power for 2 years. What would you say, how would you describe the UPND's reign so far?
Thank you so very much. I think the current situation in this country is there for everyone to see. Zambia before was claimed to be a democratic state. Claimed. Yet the prevailing situation in the country was the contrary. The facts are there. The unfortunate parties, we pretend that we need to forget. Why should we easily want to forget things that happened before us? Prima facie issues. People's rights were delegated willfully during the previous regime. There's a tendency of people saying we cannot talk about what happened. It is what happened that will be able to help us understand where we are and predict tomorrow. In an event of not wanting to talk about history, we'll continue confusing ourselves because we have nowhere to refer to. Now, this country which people are talking of being a democratic state, yes, now we can call it now. And the notion that people should forget and should not continue embarrassing ourselves is that because we have a written constitution, a country automatically qualifies to be a democratic state. The contrary. You can have a written constitution. First of all is the contents which are in the constitution. Were they agreed by the people collectively? Or were they only put in by few individuals to suit their wantings? These are some of the issues that people should start looking into. Now, if Zambia had a written constitution, do the people of this country agree to the clauses which are in, or articles which are in the constitution? If the answer is yes, then we are happy that we have a written constitution that was agreed by everyone. But does that qualify our country to be called a democratic state? The answer is not. There are tenets of good governance that ought to be elaborated or indicated. And it's from there that we'll be able to know whether those tenets are being attained in this country. If they are attained, then they'll give rise to what we call a democratic state. What are these tenets? One, respect of rule of law, respect of human rights, transparency under which government runs the affairs of this country, accountability, decentralization, respect of gender. We have what we call capacity building. From capacity building is freedom to the citizens to choose their leaders within the agreed space. In our case, it's 5 years. Are these tenets met, or are they existing in our country? Is now what, in a short time, given an opportunity that we have to run through and be able to compare with the prevailing situation. Once that is done and match them with the prevailing situation, then we'll be able to say, yes, the space under which we operate qualifies to be a democratic state, which I want to believe we are now. The rule of law. Previously, institutions would not perform their duties within the defined space. It wasn't. There was a lot of interferences. Of course, one would ask from where? From the executive. Because this is a prima facie. It happened. The executive was controlling nearly all the arms of government, which was ill. We have 3 arms. Now we are putting the media as a 4th guest. You would agree with me that you saw how the media were treated before. They had no space. Once you identified to be covering the opposition, then you would not be allowed. There were some journalists who were actually chased from attending a press briefing at a known secretariat because they were cited that they were UPND supporters and they were chased from covering. It's there. But usually, we don't want to speak about those. But we cannot give a proper position if we tend to ignore. The judiciary, the function of the judiciary is clear, is to interpret the law. Which law? The law which is made by Parliament. Meaning the judiciary should have the liberty to exercise their functions without any influence from anyone, from outsiders. Was it the case before? The answer is not. Is it the case now? Absolutely yes. We can demonstrate that. The executive in the previous regime, without shame, controlled all these arms. We would predict a case before judgment. And citizens of Zambia would know that actually no matter what, this would be the outcome. That was wrong. The parliament, which was law-making, which is its major functions to make laws, we would know. People throw issues, bills, retaining them because they wanted space to have it go or pass. Because there was politics that was actually in the midst of those things. The executive was controlling the situation. Yes, they're in charge of the government affairs, but each body or each organ has got a space or perimeters under which they have to do to perform their functions. We would see where a political party would control the police without shame. There was one time when the UPN, then in opposition, we were supposed to have a rally in Kanyama. A provincial youth chairman, not provincial chairman, youth chairman, had the guts to walk to Central Police and he gave a directive. And our rally was cancelled. Because now, government and politics was actually mingled, commingled with what was not necessary. If you go now, what's happening? There is proper distinction or separation between the party and the government. And the president clearly stated, you are a party, you have to exist. You have to know how to exist on your own. We shall never get any pen into our coffers. Was it the case before? The answer is not. Because we could see the way government institutions were helped actually to get bankrupt by the people who were then in government. Because there was no distinction. All they knew that they were in charge and they needed to do that. Respect of human rights. During the time when we were in the opposition, there are places which were not go either for the leader of the opposition. Even when we were campaigning, there are areas that he was not allowed to campaign. He was chased in the copper belt. It's on the face of everyone, a prima facie position. He was chased from there. And is that thing happening now? The answer is not. There are by-elections where you would be told you cannot be where the head of state is. But now we got the ward, fighting for the ward seat. The head of state is there, all the opposition leaders there. This is what we call independence of people's association. People are able to associate and sell their manifesto. And this is what we want to see. The courts now are able to perform their duties without any influence. During the 2 by-elections in the Copper Belt, which would have not happened during the other regime, HH was preparing to go for President, His Excellency, Mihagande Ijilema, was preparing to go for afternoon sessions or campaigns in Kwacha and Kabushi. The court here made a decision, cancelling, postponing those elections. He had to pack his bag. He was the head of state. Could you have done it before? The answer is not.
Some sectors of society, however, speak to the contrary of what you're saying. They're saying the democratic space is actually shrinking under the UPND and citing the arrests of opposition political party leaders.
The law is very clear. We have always talked about issues that borders on evenness on the application of the law. What that means is there is no one who is above the law. The law of this country, which was approved by the citizens of this country through parliament, has to be applied to all citizens equally without biasness. Now, if me as Mono Mapani MP for Namala commits a misdemeanor, and some person who is a no one, and this issue of saying no one, there's no one who is no one in this country. We are all the same. We are arrested. Me, they will even say, no, you can have a mattress and sleep on that corner in the spare cell. Was that person who has actually committed a lesser, but there's no lesser crime, they're all crimes. Say, no, he will be here. Even me can be discharged. The person will remain with the same offense because of my name. And the New Dawn government is saying no. The writings in the Constitution are the same. They have no names. It's an umbrella. The penal code we serve under is me and you to respect it because we serve under it. The criminal procedure code is the same. That indicates how matters will be adjudicated by those who are entrusted to interpret the law. Why should it be biased? There are people who say, no, but that one has been in politics for a long time. He cannot be treated the same way like this one. Absolutely not. The law is very clear. We are all the same before the law. If I commit a same crime with another colleague, the same gravity of the law should be experienced by both of us. Is it what we are seeing now? Those who are arrested, even when they know they have committed a crime, they still want to be treated differently because it's them. Them as who? Under which constitution? We are all at the same level. Of course, because of our ability and capacity to do other things which maybe we compete and become number one, our names will be known. But does it mean that we are special before the laws of this country? The answer is not. Why should people cry the loudest now? Because they're out. The same law which they apply to others. The Bible is clear. Do unto others what you want them to do unto you. That's why somebody was saying, a constitution is a Bible. How do you marry the constitution or equate the constitution to the Bible? The answer is not. Constitution is our own. Whereas the Bible is a holy thing. That we all, no matter what, regardless of the state we're in, we have to provide it. We are Christians. Now, the space actually has been widened. You see the way people now are able to criticize, call the government, the president names. No one has been arrested. The president actually has removed that punishment where people say no for actually abusing, insulting the president. Before it was a crime, but now it's not. Why? Because the freedom has extended. The president and the people of this country have requested and they have actually extended that the freedom of speech ought to be enjoyed by everyone, regardless of the ethnicity or political affiliation. And this is what we've been struggling for. But now we have now attended. And you listen to these people and the nature of crimes that they're talking about. There are crimes that actually do not get space or don't have space in our constitution, in our criminal, in our penal code. But they still want to go away with it because they think they've got two quachas that they can actually make everyone, even the law enforcing officers, to get scared of them. The answer is not. Let the law take its course, as long as in our republic, that act which is performed by the one who is perceived to be committed wrong, it has to take actually a position. Deterrence ought to be applied so that people learn and get to know that you cannot continue in this trajectory because it's wrong. The government, the people of Zambia, do not accept it, and it's indicated in the constitution and the laws of the country. There's no one who should be special. We are all the same. Because they want to be treated otherwise, but the law does not allow that. And why should somebody tutor the law just to suit the friends? Not at all. It shouldn't be. The law should be applied to everyone equally.
What do you make of the harassment of the former president when he went to attend the Malaila ceremony? I have a message here also that comes from G.R. Mwewa, and he says, if what is happening should be happening, then it means that Zambia is in the wrong leadership. He asks me to remind you of what happened in Chidamombwe, and of course what happened in Malai when at Malaila ceremony, when the president, former president, went to attend that particular ceremony.
I want to be very honest with you. A wrong today is a wrong tomorrow, because it's wrong. If there was an act that was performed, I will still not support it. But I want to believe the party position will be known soon. We have a spokesperson for the party. We have a government spokesperson. So the party should be able to produce a position, but speaking for myself, and in line with what the head of state said, one, he was not going to tolerate violence anywhere, whether to the opposition or to anyone, because it still remains violence with the ugly face. We will not entertain that. So that one, it cannot have space anywhere. That is wrong. I submit.
Let's also talk about the issue of PF National Management Committee members who were blocked when they went to visit incarcerated former political advisor at State House, Zumani, Chris Zumani. What is your take?
The PF Central Committee members, because national management is only found to a light party like your PND. Now, I don't know how far the case has reached, whether the case is already before the courts or not. The investigation wings of this country have got the mandate, under which they have to perform their duties. Like I said, I don't know whether this case is before the courts already, or they're still doing investigations. Now, talking from ignorance, that I don't know the status of the case now. When somebody is arrested, depending on the gravity of the case, there's two provisions in the Constitution that are actually applied to a person who is found in that situation. People get detained because of the nature of the cases, and they need room as investigation wings to ensure that they collect all the information without interferences. More especially in cases which are deemed to be felon, very serious cases. They need time to extract information either outside or from the individual affected. Now, this issue of anyone wanting to visit, they will normally jeopardize the investigation programs. And that I'll leave it to the wings that have been entrusted with those powers or the authority to manage the said. I think that would be my submission. Because if people want just to go and visit, we all know what used to happen when President Hakainde was arrested. Not even as the wife at some point was allowed to do that. And why? If people, they feel there is a violation of the constitutional right, we have the courts who actually interpret and give guidance on how people will proceed in such situations. It's not for an individual. The laws and the courts are there. And we have to ensure that the law is applied. They are citizens of this country, but laws are the same. If you feel the rights are being infringed, the courts are available for redress and they'll give direction. I submit.
Let's talk about the cost of living, which a lot of people have complained about. The price of minimum, for lack of a better term, has skyrocketed and people cannot afford.
I hear you. It's very important that we get to the genesis of this. We have a tendency of trekking from the Lulu setup into the urban. We are trekking. You have nothing to do in the urban. You are trekking because you have an uncle. You have moved with your wife from the Lulu setup. You don't just take people back because there are reasons why they have trekked. Now, it is where they are going, where there is nothing to do, but people want to eat all the 3 meals. Eating from where when you haven't done anything? Will government push everyone back to the Lulu setup? The answer is not. There's a way of doing it. One, this same CDF that we have been given, there are people who have trekked from the Lulu setups purely on various reasons. Some is on medical issues. Some is because of hunger. Some, when they look around, the children are not going to school. Now, this same CDF which we have been given, I think I've demonstrated what we are doing in our constituency. We are building schools which were not there. People prefer their children to join the uncles in the urban because they want to live there. Even if there was no food, there was no nothing, people want to go there. Something that was meant maybe for a population of 500. We have now 1 million. It becomes scarce because it was not there before. Hospitals, people come now because they want to get the medical services here. Now we have taken the medical services to the Lulu setup. These are the amenities that which were only found in the urban. Now these amenities, we are taking them back where? To the rural setup. Meaning that now, there is no need really to come to Choma, come to Lusaka for something. Because the same facilities that I want my children to enjoy or to have, or which I still want to have as a parent, they are found in the Lulu setup. Now apart from that, we have actually increased the prices for the outputs. The maize now, which was at 111 kwacha per 50 kg, it is now fetching 280. What that entails is there is no money now in agriculture. Why should I go and visit my uncle where in the morning when I wake up, I just wash my face, sit behind the house and wait for my aunt to prepare lunch supper for me, having done nothing? It means now I have to go back and till the land because the money is there. People should now realize there's more money in agriculture, which was actually destroyed. The agriculture sector right now is a spinner. A family spinner, not just a family spinner. Because now if I will sell a bag of maize, a 50 kg at 280, and I've got a 2,000, that's a lot of money. Now somebody would ask, at what cost do I need to have that thing? This is a thing now I have to look at it. But now if I go back, I'll have my own maize, I'll sell, And the surplus, I'll be able to buy my own house, to build my own house, to buy animals. And now I'll be able to manage my own affairs from the village. To me now, why should I be in town? If you looked around, there are only the 4 getaway roads from Lusaka. There's Great North, Great East, the Great North going southern, and there's one that goes to Mongo. Sit at 14 hours at one of those roads and see how people now are living in Lusaka, getting back to their homes, because they have realized, the learned, those who have jobs and those who don't have jobs, the businessmen now, they have realized that there is actually sanity on the land, or on land. People should be able to produce and sell. And now, if a bag of meal, a bag of maize, which is 50 kwacha, which is 280 by 50, how would I want a bag of meal to cost 40 kwacha? They have increased from 111 to 280. That promotes us now to realize that agriculture is a spinner. We have to go now. There's no need of coming in now. We have to go back. And once that is done, with the intention of planting more mills, hammer mills, milling companies, it will be easier. Because that one who is going to sell a bag of maize at 280 will have them in the warehouse. Because no one will buy. Because a lot now will be happening. And why should I be in town when I can live from the village? And once that is done, it's a gradual thing, it's a process. But realize that it is 280 per 50 kg. And you cannot expect a farmer, after the president and his cabinet has increased the price from 111 at 150 to 280, is encouraging us to get involved in agriculture. And once we do that, we'll be able to live and survive. And no one will complain. But as long as we still want to trek into town, this problem will not end. But with the introduction of CDF, all the amenities that we have been following in the urban, they are found in the constituencies. Why should I be here? Why should I subject myself to 280 to 300 bag of meal when I can perform those acts in the village and produce enough for myself? So we have just to be realistic on what we want it done. It's a process, yes, it cannot be done today or tomorrow. But we have to focus on what we want to achieve. Free education, we talked about it. Health services, we're here now. CDF, everything is done. We cannot just say, no, everything is done at once. It's not. Gradual, step by step, sector by sector. We're there. Basically, we're there.
As we come to the end of this interview, Honorable, what would be your concluding remarks?
Thank you so very much. If the people of Zambia should realize that now we have a president who stands with his preaching of love. He preaches love wherever he is. It's from love that people will be united. And that when people are united, they'll work together towards the objectives, which are the goals. And once that is done, people will be able to see development all over. Because for me in the constituency, money given to me, we show love to each other, colleagues, who will be united and agree that this is what we wanted done in our constituency. And so once we do that, then no one will point a finger at anyone because we have all participated towards that decision. And this is what we want. We need this country to remain united. We are going to continue preaching the word of love. And that the people, we have already seen it in some traditional ceremonies. Things that never happened before. We are seeing them happening now. People are flying, people are walking, people are traveling from all sectors to attend each other's ceremony. This shows love and unity. And this is what we should anchor our acts from. Because we want to build this country to a level where you should not see me as a Tonga person. You should see me as a Zambian. And this tendency of asking, you are Bemba, yes, Bemba from where? You are Tonga, yes, Tonga from where? That should be discouraged.
But the issue of ethnicity really is propelled by you, the politicians.
I agree with you that people want to get to governance through the same issue of ethnicity. That this tribe cannot rule, this tribe cannot rule. Who are you to decide? The people should decide, because these jobs are the people's jobs who give who they want at any given time, period. The people who really centered or depended and spent a lot of money in discrediting others, which is wrong. Me and you or other colleagues, we should compete purely on grey matters. And it's from that we should be able to say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. We have seen people insulting but failed to offer alternatives. During our time, we could even produce alternative budgets. And when the minister under PF, Minister of Finance, produces this budget and we produce our own, we see the two, we would always see that, okay, there's somehow correlation, but in some areas of consumption, there was always a mismatch because we would not spend much on consumption. We wanted to spend more on improving the conditions of the economy of this country. That alone showed that when we were in opposition, we knew what we were there for, and we knew what we would do when we government. There are people who would sit 6 to 6, discrediting the head of state. Yet, at the end of the press briefing, they only produce insults, no alternatives. And how do you continue such people? How would you prefer those people? Let it come with alternatives. Debt restructuring, when we were in the opposition, we were able to spell it out. This is how we are going to proceed. They disagreed with us. We are in government. Those suggestions were applied. And we are off that now because we have achieved, which could have been achieved during their time. Because of not wanting to listen, we were in this problem that we found ourselves in. So now we are saying, let's get united. Let's challenge each other on grey matters. Let's offer alternatives from what the European government is offering. Then the people will be able to sit and say, okay, fine, this is the way to go. Because some of them are still complaining about free education. No, but where are they going to get space for children? Better to have no spaces, yet our children are in school. Remember the last point. HH has taken care of those who are not able to pay for school fees, and those who had no parents because they had no capacity, what parents, but had no capacity to pay or had no one to look after them, and others who didn't see the importance of schools then through skills training. They were looking after the bursaries. That's what he has done. Or those who had missed an opportunity, they have now the time now to go in and learn. So far as Namala constituency, we have sent about 267 for these trainings. The only payment they will do is their time and their clothes. The rest is paid for. What else are we looking for? This is the government that stands to ensure that everyone in the community is given an opportunity. I submit.
Honorable, thank you very much for making an appearance on the People's Verdict. We have been featuring the Namwara Member of Parliament, Honorable Amono Mapani, who was talking to us in relation to issues to do with his constituency, CDF, and of course other governance issues. On that note, we come to the end of today's program. Don't forget to join us again next week at the same time. On behalf of the entire production team, have a blessed night.